So it's not something like you cannot actually do everything in one container, but ideally it is preferred to have like each container taking a responsibility of only one process. Okay. So if you want to deviate from that and then create all these processes like in a single container, that is actually possible, but that is not suggested in the world, like Docker world. Okay. Okay, so now let us see the container networking part. Okay, so in this demo, like what I would like to show is, so I want to show you how to host, like how to create like a MongoDB container, um, how to up and run like a MongoDB container, and then how to use that particular container from Mongo Express. Okay. So this is the official image from MongoDB, and again, like this is Mongo Express. This is the official image. So what is this MongoDB? So MongoDB is a NoSQL database. So just like SQL Server or MySQL. So MongoDB is another database. Like it is a NoSQL database where you can actually have JSON documents. So it's like a JSON document store. You can save like store multiple JSON files. So I'll not dig deep into this MongoDB database and its internals. So, but I'll just give you an overview of how the data is stored in this particular MongoDB and what are all the collections. Okay. And Mongo Express, it's a Node application. So web-based MongoDB admin interface written in Node.js and Express. Okay. So Node.js is a popular language and then a tool, and Express is a API, a tool which is used for building APIs on top of Node.js. Okay. So this MongoDB Express, so this is already built application. So it was built using like Node.js and then Express. So it is mainly used for interacting with the MongoDB. So if you want to create a database or if you want to create like any packages in any documents or any collections, so you can browse it via like MongoDB. So if you don't have like if you don't want to use Mongo Express, so you can go with like third-party MongoDB softwares, like so MongoDB clients. So, but we can make use of this MongoDB Express. Okay. For this MongoDB Express to work, so it needs to connect to MongoDB, Mongo container. Okay. So this is the actual database container, and this is a UI admin interface that is written on top, written with Node.js and Express. Okay. So we need to connect these two, like Mongo and then Mongo Express. So whenever like we establish the connection between these two, so then only we'll be able to access this MongoDB database via Mongo Express. Okay. First, let's see like how we can actually without the connect driver. Okay, connectivity network. So I'll run this MongoDB container. So I'll be running it in the detached mode. So I'm just giving like example Mongo as the name of this container, and then I'm using like latest Mongo image. Okay. So it is being exposed on 27017. Okay. And usually, like another thing, what you need to remember is in the container world, like in the microservices world, so ideally, like we don't want to expose any of these databases to external world. So for example, like I can expose this MongoDB port, like 27017 port using -p option, okay, to the host machine. But ideally, like so in real-time environments, so we don't actually expose these databases to the external world. So only the communications happens between the containers. So we should be able to communicate with the databases within the containers itself. Okay. So now if I run something like this, so I'll just run MongoDB Express container. You can see the documentation. So I'm passing some environment variables, right? So if you want to know like what are those environment variables, so you can just see the documentation. So these are all the different environment variables. So I'm passing all these environment variables using -e option. Okay. So you can pass anything, like, so you can pass like username, you can set your username, password, and then, so these are like different MongoDB related configs. Okay. So now I'll run this thing, MongoDB Express. So MongoDB Express, so it runs by default on 808.1 port, and I'm exposing it to the external host, like outside my host machine using the same port. So you can see. So what is happening? So I ran this particular container, like Mongo Express container, and I'm exposing this port. Okay. So if you see, like my MongoDB container, so it is already running. Okay. But if I run this Express, so it is actually failing. You can see why it is happening. So could not connect to database using the connection string MongoDB example Mongo so and so. Okay. So it is saying, like, by default, this particular server, like, so it expects it runs on this thing, like, so it is actually, I'm passing this example Mongo as the server name of my MongoDB, and it is saying, like, so we are not able to connect to this particular port. Okay, since this is because, like, we don't have a network established between these two containers. Now let me create like a network. Let me introduce you what network is. So these are the networks, like, so you can use this command to see the networks, like list of all the networks available on your machine. So there are like three different types of networks, like it is bridge and then host, and the other one is like overlay network, and there is something called as VLAN networks. Okay. So bridge network is nothing but, like, so if you want to communicate between like Docker containers running on your host machine. So if there are like multiple host Docker containers, so one is like MongoDB container and the other one is like Mongo Express container. So if I want to communicate between multiple containers which are present on my host machine, so I can use this bridge network. Okay. So if you want to communicate between Docker containers which are present on different hosts, so this I cannot actually demo it right now because, like, I have only a single host, right? So my laptop is the host. But the host, this type of networking, like host networking, this comes into picture like when you have the Docker containers deployed on multiple AWS instances or multiple GCP instances. Okay. So this is like overlay network. So this is mostly, this is again used to communicate, have the Docker host communication between like different nodes, and it is mainly used in Docker Swarm. So McVLAN, so one second. So McVLAN network, so even I never gave in, I mean, so never tried this. So even this is used for the communication between like multiple hosts. Okay. There are like other third-party network plugins, so which you can also use. So right now in this demo, like we'll see the bridge network, but host network, like we can actually see like host network and overlay networks when we are trying to deploy our containers on AWS environments. Okay, so we'll also do that at a later point of time. Okay, so now let's see the bridge network. Okay, so when I say Docker network ls, so we can see like what are all the networks that are available. So I have one bridge network, host network, and then so this is the network like which I created. Okay. So if you want to create a network, so this is the command like Docker create network. Name, and then I want to pass. So Docker network create and then the driver, like which type of driver you want to use. So since I want to communicate between multiple containers present on my host machine, so I would like to go with this driver, this bridge network. Okay. And I gave my network name as Mongo network. So this is already created. So that is the reason why like I'm getting an error. So now when I'm actually running multiple containers, so what I need to do is like, so I need to specify this network. Okay. Also, you can inspect this network. So you can actually see something like so subnet and then the gateway, all these things like okay. So don't ask me what these are. So I'm really bad at networking. Okay, so now if we when we are actually running these containers, so okay, now I want to run this MongoDB container, and then so I want to attach this network. Okay, Docker. Yes. So I already have this Mongo latest running, right? So I can attach this network, like I can attach this network using Docker attach. Docker. I don't exactly remember the name.
It is actually connect, right?
Docker connect. So usually like Docker connect network to running containers. Yeah, Docker network connect. So Docker network connect and then network name and then container name. Okay, Docker network connect. And my container name, my network name is yes. Connect. And then so this is the network I want to connect. And my container name is this is the container name.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's see. Docker PS. So this is my container, right? So now Docker inspect. I want to inspect this container. So now you can actually see the network. So this is the Docker container which I'm inspecting. Okay, this is my container ID. So when you inspect this, so you can actually see the networks. So this is actually having this MongoDB network. Okay, so it is connected to the MongoDB network. Now I have another container. So this is the Mongo Express container, right? So I want to run this Mongo Express container. So Docker my Mongo Express, it is not actually running. So this is another one. So just ignore this. So I'll run this command. So this is one way, like Docker contain. What is this command like which we use? Docker connect network, and then so you need to provide the network ID and then the container ID. Okay, so that is one way. Like if you want to attach a network to an existing running container, so this is the command. Like, but if you want to attach a container at the runtime, so when you're actually running the container, so you can just specify like this network, like hyphen hyphen network option. Okay, so you can use this network option. So MongoDB network. So now if I see Docker PS and then inspect this Express, this is Mongo Express. So even it is connected to Mongo network. Okay. So now I can seamlessly establish the connection between these two. Okay. So ideally, like in the traditional world, so if we want to connect any of these two, and if we want to connect your code with the database, so you need to provide the connection string. So in the connection string, ideally what we'll have, so you'll have at least like the IP address of that particular database, or you need to have the domain name of that particular database address. But in Docker, so what happens is, so when you create a network and you want to connect between containers via the network, so you can use your container name as your container name itself will be the IP address of that particular machine. Okay. So for example, like so MongoDB Express. So when it is connecting MongoDB Express, so I want to connect this to MongoDB, right? So ideally, like what I need to do, so I need to provide the IP address of this MongoDB server, right? So in this case, what I'm doing, like I'm simply providing example Mongo. So what is this example Mongo? So example Mongo is nothing but like it is the name of my container, like MongoDB container. Okay. So the same way, like when you establish the networking between multiple containers, so you can communicate between those containers via the container name itself. Okay. So that will be the URL or host name for the communication. So this is the command like docker run. You need to specify the network, like the network which you created. And these are the environmental variables so that are actually required by this MongoDB Express. Okay, and -p, I'm exposing this 8081 port that Mongo Express exposes to 8081 on my host machine. So now you can actually see, you can see that like, so it is actually connected, like Mongo Express server is running on this 8081 port. Let me browse that. Okay, so you can see, so this is my MongoDB database. So I can create like database. So this is my MongoDB database. So I can view collections. So I can create a collection. Collection. In MongoDB, collections are nothing but like this is the database. Like so, in databases, like we have a database server, and then you'll have multiple databases, right? So this is something similar. Like this is like a table in SQL Server. Okay, so this is my collection, and then if I want to create like any create a document, so I can, this is my collection, right? New document, so you can create a document. Okay, so this is the document which got created. Okay. So this is what like I wanted to show you, like so how you can actually create like networks, and then so how you can communicate between like multiple nodes. So we'll also see few more examples. So what I'll try to do is like, so I'll just take this sample examples. Like I'm just taking like Ubuntu example. So the basic Ubuntu Alpine image, and then the ASH is nothing but like this is the SH. Okay. So I want to show different things like so how this networking actually works. Like so. So I'm running this container like docker run -it detached mode, and this is a simple command like so. I'm running this Alpine image like Alpine you saw, right? So this is just like a 5 MB Linux container. So and I'm just giving this command like ASH. Okay.
Pavan,
Yeah.
To add here, so in earlier example you showed, right, the example container name. By using container name, we can able to we can
Communicate.
uh, we can use that container name, right?
Hmm.
So it is specific for only user defined drivers. When coming to bridge driver, it won't happen, right?
So when
So
coming bridge driver, it happens like so. Okay, the base. So even in the bridge driver, like we created the container, right? Network.
yeah, but if you, so
You're
I
saying
don't
about the
think
base
so.
one,
It,
which was actually,
yeah, yeah, it will not access by using the
yeah.
container.
So the base one, like you can actually Docker network ls. So there are like multiple bridge. So this is the bridge. This is the one which comes by default. Okay. So you're saying like so using this, if we are connecting to this network, like so we'll not be able to connect with
Access with the container name. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So I never tried this. So maybe like yeah,
So
I'll just give it a try and see like how this actually. Okay.
okay.
So usually like what I do is like so I never so usually like in a real time environment like we don't create this networks and then all this stuff like so we'll go with like Docker compose file and in the Docker compose you'll just specify hyphen network and then the name. So it will take care of creating the network and all that stuff like yeah. So yeah, I'll just give it a try and see like so
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Uh, my Alpine image is running and then I want to attach this particular image. Like I also want to run another container, Alpine 2. Okay, so I'm inside this container. So 57517, this is my Alpine 2 container. And this is my Alpine 1 container. This is my Alpine 1. Alpine 1. Okay. So I'll want to show you something. Like, I'll also open another PowerShell window. So which one I'm connected to? I'm connected to Docker. So this, I'll open this. So I'll execute like a small ping command. Ping www.google.com. Okay. So you can see like google.com, it is working. So I'm able to access internet from this container. Okay. So yeah. Yes, Karthik. So I'll show that now itself. Like Docker inspect. I'm inspecting both of these containers. This is my first container. So you can see by default, the network is it is connected to this bridge network. Okay. So you're connected to the bridge network, and even this one, like so you can see the other one. Docker inspect. So even this is connected to the bridge network. Okay. So when both of these containers are connected to the same network, like bridge network, so ideally what I said, so we should be able to communicate between these two using the using the host name, like Docker container name. But that doesn't actually happen. So let's see that. Okay. So I'm able to ping google.com. So ping is actually working and then it is able to connect to internet. So now let me try to ping the other this container like Alpine 2. So I'm inside Alpine 1, right? I want to ping this Alpine 1. So you can see like this is a bad address. Okay. The same way, like from my Alpine 2 container, I'll try to ping Alpine 1. So you got this bad address. So ideally, so this should actually work because they are connected to the same network, like the same bridge network, right? But since as Karthik mentioned, so by default, if you are connected to the bridge network, the default network that was actually provided by Docker, so you'll not be able to access via the host name, like Docker container name. Okay. So in order to access this via the container name, so what I need to do, so I need to connect them to same network. So what I'll try to do is so I'll connect them to the same network. So I'll use Docker network unless. So instead of creating a new network, I'll try to make use of this existing network. Okay. So the command is Docker connect network and then the network ID and then the container name Alpine 1. So I'm attaching Alpine 1. What is the command? I forgot, Docker network connect.
Network connect.
Okay, so we are connected to Docker network. So let me inspect this. I'll also copy this command. Docker inspect Alpine 1. So now you can actually see. So you're able to. So I'm attaching this. I attach this Mongo network to Alpine 1. So let me do the same thing with Alpine 2. Okay, and I'll also inspect this this container. So you can see I'm connected to Mongo network. Okay. So now let me try to do this ping. Okay. You can see. So ping Alpine 1. So previously it's a bad request. Now I'm able to ping this Alpine 1 from Alpine 2. Okay. Same way. So you can see so this is 571 is my Alpine 2. So I'm able to ping Alpine 1 from Alpine 2. So vice versa, I'll try to do that. One. Okay, so it is working. So one of the advantages with the host name as the container name is, so this is the case even with so Kubernetes. So in Kubernetes also you can create services and you can use that service name as your host name for connecting with multiple containers. The advantage with this approach is, so you don't actually need to remember all these IP addresses. So you can also connect between these two containers via the IP address, but it is not required to remember all those IP addresses. So once a container is killed and then so it is recreated, so your IP address might actually change. But if you are trying to use the container name, so once the container is killed and then you want to recreate a container with the same name, so the other applications, if you have multiple containers, other containers, so it is not required to change the configuration, like connection strings or IP addresses over there. The name will be always same, right? Okay. So this is all about networking. Any questions? So if no questions, so I think we can actually wrap this session for today. And tomorrow we'll start this Docker compose file. So if you have any thoughts or if you have any suggestions, we still have 10 more minutes, right? You can share it with me. So I'll stop the recording.